Well, now let's take a look at another important issue. Just who will Nasser pick as its presidential flag bearer? Well, reports, but this has not been confirmed, is that the technical committee that has been looking at this issue has settled on Raila Kalonzo candidature. Is this true or is this hot air? Let's now speak to our senior political reporter, Duncan Hayemba, joining me live in studio. Thank you so much for joining us. So is this hot air or this is finally it? Raila Kalonzo, it is.
I think we can say it's both, but largely hot air, given that there are 3 dailies today that have totally different matters or perspectives in as far as the NASA, the state of affairs are in NASA. One says that Mudavadi and Kalonzo walked out on Raila, whereas he was in Bondo the entire day at his Bondo home. One says it's been decided, two are close, they're almost saying the same thing, Kalonzo, Raila, a retention of the 2013 ticket. But what I know, and that is the state of a confirmation that I've had this even few hours before we came on air, is that there's a planned retreat this weekend. And of course, it was confirmed last night by Kalonzo Musyoka. So the principles, yes, the committee has finalized. And it could be true there is a leakage to that, but some of the people in that committee seem to say, no, that is not true. But at least we know that the technical committee has finished their work and they have handed over to the principals. This weekend, there will be a retreat. What we do not know is if they are going to actually make it public after they emerge from the retreat, whether they'll go for their Kilaguni or if it will be a Sagana. Yeah. But we know that at least the technical committee has done its work. They've washed their hands. Yes. Now the ball is in the 4 principals' court to decide.
Let's talk about, like you mentioned, today, different dailies saying different things. Everybody has their own, perspective about this issue. Is this intentional that they keep, this experts, quote unquote, or this, reports coming in from, sources who are unknown? Is this intentional so that we still are in a state of confusion, and not even especially us, the Jubilee Party?
2 things. One, there are possibilities that it could be a spin by, of course, Jubilee propaganda. We know we're in the season of political propaganda. And it could be true that Jubilee could be having a hand into this just to test waters. Remember that they've kept Jubilee, the country, guessing for long, and more so Jubilee. For over a year, Jubilee is always saying, we know our candidates. Can you present yours? So Jubilee, it's been far too long. And it's in the interest of Jubilee that we know who they are, who our opponents are, so that we craft a counter strategy. A Raila candidature, the approach with which Jubilee will take him head on is totally different from the approach they'll take on, is it Musalia, is it Kalonzo, is it Wetangula? And therefore, the earlier they know, the better, because definitely whichever lineup NASA comes up with, it will force Jubilee technocrats or think tanks to go back to the drawing board and look at how they'll have to attack them. It can get worse for them, or it can throw Jubilee off balance in the event that perhaps we have a Musalia Raila ticket or a Musalia Kalonzo ticket or a Wetangula ticket, so long as we have a Western leader on board, because that essentially will mean that Western is now a stronghold. It's not a battleground. It can be a battleground in the event if, for instance, the ticket is retained, Kalonzo Raila or Kalonzo Raila or Raila Kalonzo, or the way it was 2013, because Western supporters will be told, in Jubilee, you're not number 1, you're not number 2. The same scenario in NASA. So why don't you come with our side? At least we can. We have shared this so far, and we can retain or even increase. So in the event we don't have a Western or a loyal leader in the lineup, then it makes Western, it can be a possible battleground. But in the event that one of the two, either Wetangula or Musalia, they are on the ticket, be it number 1 or number 2, clearly that one automatically moves Western to a stronghold. And of course that will mean Western, Nyanza, Eastern, the lower Eastern coast, those definitely automatically become solid strongholds for NASA, and therefore a completely no-go zone for Jubilee, and of course that one will complicate matters. And I think that is why Jubilee is really pushing, and every day you'll hear like Majority Leader Eden Duale saying that we know your candidate is Raila Odinga. The earlier you present him, the better, because they know it's easier to go that way.
I mean, I'm sure Jubilee has sat back and thought about all the options that are available, and they're just really waiting for that moment to come. It really won't matter if it's Musalia or Raila or whoever it is. They already have a strategy in place, because obviously they're not sleeping.
No, it matters. They are not sleeping, and the reason why, ask yourself, why is it their business? Why would it be the deputy president's business? And even Eden Duale, and of late the president, every day they're always asking, you guys, give us your candidate, because they know in the event that it's Musalia Mudavadi or Moses Wetangula with Kalonzo Musyoka or
Dynamics
any other
change.
person, things will really change. And war unto Jubilee, for instance, if Raila will decide to pull a replica of 2002 and pull a somebody else Tosha, in that he remains the kingmaker, and so long as Raila will move with his bloc, then they endorse the other ones, that one will be difficult for Jubilee, because as it stands, largely it's Western that will determine the outcome. Remember that when you look at the dynamics, Jubilee's strongholds in 2013 haven't changed. It still remains largely Rift Valley and Central, because they've not made serious headway in Kisii, Coast, and Western.
Right.
And therefore, and then for CORD, originally CORD, the same thing. So when you look at the way things are, clearly you will say that if we are going to have Musalia or a Western ticket affair, then it will mean that now Western will largely tilt the scales in favor of the traditional bloc that CORD had, now NASA, and Jubilee hasn't made serious inroads. So that's where the problem is, and that's where the challenge is. And therefore, it could be the interest of Jubilee that the 2013 ticket is retained, so that Western remains a battleground, in as much as they might not go 50-50 or 60-40, but at least they could be having chances of yanking off some sizable number of votes.
All right.
Yes.
So after the flag bearer is announced, the NASA flag bearer, then what? Because right now, I mean, obviously they have some negotiating power already, with Jubilee really looking to see who is it going to be. So after that that has happened, what is going to be the strategy after?
We know that campaigns, let me say campaigns proper, are as good as underway starting tomorrow at the primaries, because there are those ones that are going to be the MPs in waiting from tomorrow in strongholds of ODM. You get the ticket, you are good as re-elected.
Yes, yes.
Or you get a ticket, if you're a newcomer, you are good as elected. You go start preparing your acceptance speech, and therefore you'll be assigned for those ones that will clinch tickets, be it in Homa Bay, Kisumu, Siaya, even Western, depending whether it's ANC, ODM, or Ford Kenya. So long as it's a stronghold, you clinch that ticket, then you'll be assigned a national, perhaps a national assignment to campaign for the candidates, because elections will be done. The same case for Jubilee on 21st of April. If you're in Murang'a, if you are in Rift Valley, if you are many areas, the moment you get it that day, you are done. So you can only be given other responsibilities to help in the national campaign, because that is when the election will be won. Therefore, from now henceforth, the elections proper, campaigns proper get under immediately these nominations end on 21st or 24th of April, because now it remains the presidential campaign for the coalitions or the parties, because Jubilee will now go to the election not as an alliance or a coalition, but as a party. NASA will go as a coalition. Then I'm sure there will be more. I know we have the Third Way Alliance, we have the Kinababu and Amamba Smart, although they've said is the president. We have the Philip Murgors. So from the primaries, the next level are campaigns proper. Remember that 3 months to the election, that is from 10th May, anything is possible, and that will be the time that now campaigns will properly get underway, and they will only intensify after the various presidential candidates are cleared by IEBC.
All right, let's shift gears finally and talk about that meeting that Rita was talking about earlier between NASA and IEBC. NASA wants this parallel tallying system. It's not new, it's not a new thing. Why is IEBC so against this? And are we likely to see them come to a compromise today?
Yes, they will. The IBC will have no choice in the event that in 2013, Jubilee had their own tallying center. It is in public domain, and of course, it was alleged that they infiltrated the IBC server that made the electronic results transmission to be suspended. Remember, the former chairman came and announced that our system has hung, therefore we'll revert to the manual where presiding officers or returning officers had to physically walk to Bomas and deliver the Form 34, 35, and 36 the manual way. Therefore, in 2013, Jubilee had their own tallying center. And you remember the deputy president then, as the running mate, he could be seen issuing periodic updates saying, oh, so far so good, this is how they're going, we are looking at our system. So it's in the interest of anyone. So if IBC wants to have it, it's as good as having everyone have their own, just in the event that there are conflicting figures, and then they can see. But the only thing that IBC will not allow is in the event that NASA decides that they want to officially announce those results.
All right, thank you.